What's up, everybody? This is Shop with Seth, where Seth Feider, 2021 Bassmaster Angler of the Year, helps you choose the right tackle for the lakes that you fish.
Yep. Okay.
Mississippi River, Pool 9, it's mid-August and it's hot. Water levels are low, and I'm out here in these sloughs looking for some largemouth. I'd love some advice on where to start and what to throw.
All right. Hey, Kate. You're at Pool 9, Mississippi River, looking for largemouths. August, water's low. The first thing that comes to mind is a frog. My favorite one's a Terminator Walking Frog Jr. And I like the dark colors, anything. This is a cocoa. Black works really well. And I'm going to look for targeting duckweed. There's a lot of it down there on the river. I'm looking for places where there's still a little bit of flow maybe. You can see a little bit of the grass moving on the outside edge of it, or you know, the back ends of islands, or maybe some cut bank stuff as well. But a frog's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of summertime largemouth fishing on the Mississippi River. There's a lot of vegetation down there, a lot of matted vegetation, and it's shallow too. You're always looking at really shallow water on the river. Frogs caught probably as many largemouth bass on the Mississippi River as anything. Like I said, I'm going to look for duckweed or cut bank stuff, but primarily duckweed, something that's got a little bit of flow through it. You know, I don't really like the real stagnant back end, dead end stuff like you catch them in the spring in. So kind of the mouths of that stuff where it's coming through, or if you get kind of in an area where there's some islands and a little bit of current moving through there, the points of the islands usually got some duckweed piled in on them. That's a really good place to throw a frog. As far as tackle goes, it's big, heavy stuff. I reach for a 7.4 heavy. If I'm frog fishing open water, I usually use a smaller, lighter rod, but on the Mississippi River, you're going to be fishing big, matted areas, lily pads, heavy grass, so a heavy 7.4 frog rod paired up with a Tatula SV 8-to-1, and I'd go 40-pound Suffix braid on there. You can use a little heavier if you like, but I just like the casting distance I get out of the 40, and I think it cuts through the grass a little bit better. But you know, work that slow over the areas where you looks nice, where there's a little bit of flow going through it, where there's some duckweed, and then when you do get a bite, just know on the river there's usually more fish there than just one. So when you do get a bite, slow down and make a bunch of casts back to that. It could be a real small area, you know, the size of this desk, and you can catch, you know, 5-6 fish out of it. So if you get a bite, slow down, really work, you know, every foot of that area. And then great way to cover water, super weedless. You can you know, fish fairly fast looking for them, and your bait's not getting hung up and junked up. But that'd be my first choice. And then the second thing, another Mississippi River staple, a swim jig. This is a 3/8 ounce white Outcast heavy cover swim jig. Pair that up with a Z-Man Turbo Cross in white. And I'm going to fish this in more of the sparser stuff, you know, maybe that outside edge of that grass. Great way to cover water, great way to find some fish. And a swim jig's just bread and butter down on the Mississippi River. You can fish it in the pads and some of that sparser grass or the submerged grass on the outside edge. I'm still going to be looking for a little bit of current, you know, somewhere there's some water moving. I mean, not necessarily main river stuff, but somewhere with a little bit of flow. And you can fish around wood and the submerged grass. And as far as setup goes on that, I'd go for a 7.3 medium heavy, same 8-to-1 Tatula as the frog reel, and I'd put 30-pound braid on there, Suffix braid, fire it around. Great way to catch them, and that will catch both species too. You'll catch some smallmouths on that as well. Both great baits to cover a ton of water, which is kind of the key when you're on the Mississippi River, finding those little sweet spots. And then when you do find them, you might want to, you know, if you start catching a bunch on a swim jig, maybe go through there with a stick worm or something after you've caught them. But those two baits will find you largemouth bass on the Mississippi River, no doubt. Typically around some kind of current and typically around some kind of vegetation. Both really weedless baits, can cover a ton of water, and that's my best advice for finding those Pool 9 largemouths.